The service sequence is where the real power lies. You're effectively creating a schedule that governs how often a piece of equipment needs to be serviced. These sequences allow multiple, parallel service routines to be set up for a single item. While you can create individual sequences here, it's recommended to create default sequences to save time going forward. Head to Model Inquiry via the Equipment menu. Next, select the equipment you want to create a sequence for. Expand the Default Service Sequences section. Then, click the Add a New Sequence button. Sequence A is now ready for you to fill in. Start with the sequence name, such as service. When defining a sequence, you can choose how the system calculates service intervals. This can be based on calendar days, weeks or months, hours operated, or you can choose the either date or hours option. If you choose this option, you need to define the intervals. In most cases, clients choose calendar-based scheduling, as usage hours often aren't tracked consistently enough. Under the Services are scheduled. Using field, you can choose how the next service date is calculated. Fixed dates mean that services are always due on the same date, for example, every July 1st. Even if the actual service is done earlier or later, the system keeps the original schedule. This is useful for organizations that prefer a rigid calendar-based plan. Date of previous service is a variable schedule, where each service date is calculated from the actual completion date of the previous one. So if a service is completed on August 27th instead of July 1st, the next due date becomes August 27th of the following year. This approach adds flexibility for real-world delays. The default type lets you set if the sequence is the default for this model, or suggested. If suggested is enabled, when you go to create a sequence, you have the option to select it from the list or create a new one from scratch by clicking Close. Sequence Start Date lets you set when the sequence should start. If you choose Contract Start Date, the sequence will start from the contract date. Should you select Calculated Date, you can set a delay from the contract start date so that 3 months from the contract start date, run sequence A. With all the fields filled out, click Add Service, fill in the mandatory fields. Service frequency refers to how often the service should be scheduled. In this example, it is set to 12 months. When you're done, click Save. The service has been added to the sequence. You can now add another service. Follow the same steps to create a new one. In this example, we have created a major and minor service. To ramp things up, let's add an MOT to the sequence. Follow the same steps as before. You'll notice that sequence B has been created. Once it's all filled out, you'll see 2 sequences consisting of 3 services. After the first major service, a minor service will take place 6 months later, followed by another major service after 12 months, and so on. Since we have chosen the date of previous option, the dates will begin after the completion of the prior service. Additionally, we have an MOT test every 12 months, regardless of the other services. If this was included in the same sequence, you would have to wait almost 3 years for the next MOT service. Finally, close the window and click Save to confirm your default model service sequence.